I'm honored to have my good friend Piero Pelizzaro here with us. He was here in 2016 for another event that I organized since then. I'm following his work, and it's really amazing how he's accomplishing a lot of awareness and advocacy for resiliency in the cities. So Piero Pelizzaro has been working on climate change policies and smart city and adaptation planning for the last 8 years. He is the project manager of 2020 Lighthouse project Sharing Cities program that includes also Greater London and Lisbon, and of course the Municipality of Milan. And he's a member of the Milan Municipality Working Group responsible for developing the urban resilience strategy for the city. He also co-founded his consultancy company, Climalia, based in Italy, where he operates as a resilience specialist. Piero is also an Acclimatise Associate. Welcome, Piero. Though you are a climate expertise, but I'm pretty sure you have some good thoughts about what is going on with the pandemic, and of course what you are doing in Milan for this process. Welcome, my friend, and you have your time now, and now we are under control. Thanks.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, and good to see you again, and good to see you all again after a couple of years we were together. Now we are in a new time, in a new situation where we cannot stay together, but we still be close, sharing our thoughts, sharing our idea, our vision about the future of our cities and our planet. So thank you very much again for the invitation. As so let me share my screen. I have some of my presentation to share with you. I think you can see my presentation now. And so, uh, uh, as Victor said, the city of Milan over the last few months facing an important challenging. Like all of us, we are in a time of pandemic, in a time of an emergency. And when an emergency or a shock or a stress, especially as this one as a shock is coming, we need to become resilient. To become resilient is not the solution, it's a capability that all of us as individual, as a community, as a city, we need to adopt. But at the same time, we need to be smart. And we need to be smart to work with the community and engage the community in making the future of our community as much as possible more equal. So to improve our equity, to improve our comfort and our sustainability for the future of the city. So let me give you a short introduction, the context of Milan and the emergency. Milan has founded its DNA of Milan is founded on society, on work, on times, on space sharing. The city it's now suffering from the health emergency, and this will have a huge impact on a city that were boosting their economy, a city that were rethinking itself in making the city even more green, more inclusive, and more equal. And when an emergency comes in the emergency domain, there is always a first role. What we say that when an emergency comes is important what you do, what you do it for to answer to emergency, but it's even more important what you have done before the emergency to be ready to cope with a shock, but at the same time to be ready to recover as much as possible. So if somehow this emergency it gives us the opportunity to implement our vision of the urban resilience and to speed up the process that we were already implementing. And this is what I'm going to share with you over the next half an hour. It's how we approach this way to managing the emergency and the plan. This is a timeline of our last years. It was a challenging year for all of us. We were suffering. Before the February 2020, when after the China, the COVID comes to Milan, we were the first European cities to went in lockdown. We were really rethinking our city in a smart and resilient approach. So we work on the Sustainable Energy Action Plan. We work on Sustainable Mobility Urban Plan. We work on the Territorial Governmental Plan, so the master plan of the cities. And we also have been working on the Climate Action Plan. These 4 documents, they were in the way was adopted, 3 of them, and 1 is going to be adopted, the Climate Action Plan, where at the same time was the core element of the city. Now come then after, in February, comes the emergency, and comes the COVID. And since the beginning of that, the city was split in kind of 2 working groups within the public administration. One dealing with emergency, and another small team were identified to start thinking about what could become next. In March, I remember there was a big discussion over the new normality, the new normal. The new normal was we need to envisage what could be the new normal for the cities. In April, we have developed the Milan Adaptation Plan 2020 that was looking at after the first lockdown, how the city should be adapt to the new condition, to the new life. And this Milan Adaptation Plan 2020, were at the beginning of May, were published and were open for the communities, for association, individuals, and stakeholders to be comment. And we were asking to the cities, please help us, give us ideas, what you're expecting after this, how we can give you a better life since the lockdown we're going to finish. And so the adaptation plan comes, and we start implementing the adaptation plan. Then it comes November, and a new lockdown comes to the city with a new restriction. At the same time, between July and since now, the European Commission has taken a big step forward to move forward as a European communities and identify the Resilience and Recovery Fund with the 2 streamline, the main 2, Next Generation EU and the React EU, to be funded the country we're suffering in Europe and how this could be helped to recover the economy. And this comes to the city to say, and the national government asks us, which could be our contribution for the National Resilience and Recovery Plan. And so we will start thinking what we will need for the city to recover fast as much as possible. And one of the approaches that Milanese always had is we don't need to invent the wheel, but we need to start from what we already have and try to push this solution. So, and then is where we stand now. We are developing the resilience strategy. We are contributing to the National Adaptation Plan. Let me just clarify something before to go to the action. When you govern the emergency and you govern the recovery, they always will be clear. The city are somehow the last part of the chain of the decision-making process, because we have the national government, we have the regional institution, and we have the local institution. But the city are also the place where the things happen first. So in somehow we also need to adapt the multi-level governance with the need to be the first one to answer back to our community, give them a solution. So our recovery plan task force has identified since the beginning 3 main pillars at the beginning, where the green wave funding. What does it mean, green wave funding? Is how we can identify place, areas, spot in the city to give back enough space to the community to be in somehow adapt to live with the COVID. So we start thinking how we can approach the public space in a different way. Second one, it becomes pretty clear that we need to improve also the use of digital infrastructures to be able to support the city and offer them to the community and the citizens services that could be more close to their house, more close to their everyday life, to make it somehow the digital as a tool to support the social need of the people. On the other, we identify as the main core of our plan, the environmental transition. So the environmental transition comes an important element. Why it comes an important element? Not only is because we believe that climate change, as Joe Biden, the new elected US president, say, climate change is job for me, he's always said, so to create a new economy, to create a new job. But at the same time, we learn something, that living in a country, living in a city, living in a world that is polluted, that could improve the exposition of our community to a kind of pandemic as the COVID is. So the environmental transition comes as a precautionary measures that we can implement it and we can offer to our community to try to avoid that what we are living is not coming back in the future. So we start with the Milan Adaptation Strategy 2020. We identify the different streamline and timeline of our vision. So we have the pre-lockdown, the lockdown, the post-lockdown, and the new ordinary. And this chain, this scheme, let's say, it was not only thought because we believe it was the COVID we're going to finish over the summer, but because we also need to be ready for what will come next, because a new lockdown comes. So we always have thinking, let's working on a plan that could be always flexible, adaptive, redundant, as is the key element of our resilience strategy. So how we can always restart and adapt all the different tools we need. The Milan adaptation strategy is based on the following, on the vision: governance, rights and inclusion, sustainability, economy, resources and value, time, space and services and labor. This is what we believe is the key element of a vision of our adaptation strategy. So coming to that, so if we look here, we have timing, space and services. The first things we have to cope was how we can offer to our community, to our bar and restaurant, to our museum, to our entertainment, even more space. And since 2018, the city has launched a program named Piazze Aperte Open Square. Piazze Aperte is adopting the approach of tactical urbanism, and together with the Bloomberg Associate, the National Association of City and Transport Officials, and the Global Design City Initiative, we are starting looking at the city and they say, we have plenty of gray areas in the city that are now have been taken over the last decade by cars. And how we can give back this space from cars to people. And we took this square and we start in the picture that you see in the presentation. You see this white and yellow bullet, and we start to paint all this square. We're using white and yellow, not just because it's cool, it's beautiful to see, but also because white and yellow could also help to mitigate the effect of heat island effect in the cities. In the same square, we start offering bike sharing, tennis table, we start sharing the new bench, just to give back a space to the people. This Piazza Aperte that was launched a couple of years ago, it becomes pretty clear that it was exactly what we need after the first lockdown, because we need to give more space to the community due to the physical distance. They love to call social distance, but I think it's more related to physical distance, because social distance, we need to be more social close than physical. And this Piazza Aperte comes one of the first solutions. So the first things we have done is using the same approach of the Piazza Aperte, boosting. So we have developed more Piazza Aperte over the summer, but even more, the practice we have implemented lead us to develop the new program, Strada Aperte. Strada Aperte is actually, starting May, has already finished the first part of the Strada Aperte program, was to create 35 new kilometers of bike line, and to increase the extension of the zone 30, so it's the speed limit, as we call the zone 30 kilometers. And that comes because we were already aware that a lot of the population was maybe scared to use the public transport for the contagious, but at the same time, we need to avoid that people come back to the use of cars. So one of the solutions was increase the pedestrian areas, and on the other end, increase the capacity of the city to offer an alternative to cars and public transport using bikes. And then comes Strada Aperte. That was 35 new kilometers, do it in an emergency time, and it was one of the key elements. And we see extremely how the city were changing over the summer. And we give a new idea of the city when people, bike, pedestrian, and people were and somehow enjoying to be outside again, even more than was before. And the city of Milan was always well known to be a place to be and to have fun and to enjoy the time. On the other hand, we need to offer more space also to our bar restaurant. So we start removing parking slot, parklets, and to give back to the community, to the owner of bar restaurant, to increase the number of the hours. Again, it's a simple measures to help the bar restaurant, but at the same time, to help the city to change their view and to put the people at the core of our public space policy. These are two elements of what lead to the recovery plan of the cities, because the recovery plan of the city that is now being in the process of developing has identified other kind of elements. We start introducing mobility, volunteering to support the vulnerable population, hygiene, tourism, smart working, digital physical infrastructure, and public space. So we start an element to the adaptation strategy for the recovery plan. The recovery plan, all these elements were pretty clear, were always also some of the key pillars for our environmental transition purpose, because that could help us to create a stimulus packages for the economy, investing on public transport, investing on public space, investing on digital infrastructures, creating and giving a more opportunity even to all the young generation. The city of Milan has 200,000 students, 11 universities. We have a huge social capital here to be used to be improved. So we move to the environmental transition. And the environmental transition, we fix some of the key elements. Maybe you were expecting the environmental transition start for the decarbonization, but for us, the first element of the environmental transition is equity. Because equity, the climate change impact, and the environmental transition give us a big opportunity to rebalance the equity among the community. The second one, the environmental transition and the emergency, lead us that we need to increase accessibility to all kinds of services in the neighborhood and everywhere in the city. First element was the renaturalization. Why? For precautionary measures, as I said before, and to improve the quality of living and to reduce air pollution. And then it's something important, so improve the greening and the blue infrastructures. Another element was the decarbonization. The decarbonization is the core element of boosting the green economy, because we can invest in energy efficiency, we can invest in renewable energy. And last one, but is not least, is active participation. And all this process, all the community in Milan was always being asked, give us your feedback, give us your ideas, give us your vision of the city. And it was good point and negative impact of it. So as I said, all this kind of participation comes through the involvement of the different stakeholders, the local and the international one. I want to highlight here, I want to be really grateful as a city to network as a C40, the Global Resilient Cities Network, and the Euro Cities, and the other network we are part of, because during the pandemic and even now, in the phase of designing the recovery plan, they give us an extreme useful support to all of us to rethinking our cities. And as you can see, the C40 has published different kind of report and has been doing lobbying to create the need that all the funds that will be used for the government has to be focused on the sustainability and the resilience of our community. Then the Milan Resilience Strategy, that is one of the elements that we were now working, has identified different kind of thematic areas. We have the Milan water cities, living Milan, cool Milan, circular Milan, safer and extras. Let me focus on some of these. Milan water cities, maybe you are well know that Milano has the Navigli. You all know the Navigli has the place to be to have a wonderful streets. But Milan water cities, Milan has canal, the reopening of the canal that they are now being covered over the last decade to create space for cars is becoming a necessity to improve our capacity to be attractive for tourists and investors. But at the same time, the water we have in the city is a huge opportunity for us to improve our energy transition. We have been at the cool Milano that is important for us. It's how to cool down the city in terms of temperature, how we can greening the cities. The circular Milan, it's another approach that we believe is important for us, is how we improve the circularity of our economy, using the resources that are locally as the waste product. As one of the leading cities at the global scale in separate waste, in different waste, we always believe that our waste is not anymore a waste, but is a new resources for the future of our economy. To give an example, in Milan, one of our startups, we normally collect 63% of organic waste. We separate. One of the startups we were supporting comes to us and say, we have an idea. We can create textile from orange skin. They produce the textile, and now Salvatore Ferragamo is using this textile produced by orange skin as a textile of his new production. So from waste to fashion, it became clear that the streamline is pretty short. So it became an opportunity for us to rethink in the cities. The resilience strategy has split in three main pillars. We have service and procedure, we have space and infrastructures, and we have community and population. And that it's been something that we have been thinking and developed since before, even before the emergency, and now it's becoming more clear will be also the future of the thinking of the cities. Then comes the air and climate plan. The air climate plan is looking how the city should adapt to climate change, to flooding, to extreme heat, but at the same time is including mitigation and including air quality. And when we think about adaptation and mitigation, we believe that a lot of smart technology has been implemented over the last few years. It become important for the cities. To give some example, Victor before was mentioning the sharing cities program. With the sharing city, we started installing sensor over the lamppost that was for us to mapping the temperature, to mapping the air quality, to mapping the humidity, to mapping of the city. This new technology becomes even more important for us now to monitoring the evolution of our community and to understand if the community is getting the proper benefit. On the other hand, the sharing cities program gives us the opportunity to start thinking and designing and implementing what is called the energy community. The energy community is the creation of a community of, it's like pulling together different PV system, photovoltaic system on the roof, and then you start creating a small power plant that is owned by the people itself. What does it mean, this one? It's an important element for the energy transition, but at the same time could avoid a shock on the grid, so reducing the blackout. But even more important is to make people to adopt a self-consumption approach, so they of energy. So they use the energy they produce. What is the impact? That we increase their capacity of expenditure because we reduce their cost of energy cost. So that is come an importance, and how renewable energy and the energy community, it could be a leading solution for the climate strategy, but also for the equity, because we give back a piece of their money to the community itself. So the air and climate plan identified 5 main areas: the slow Milano, so how we should move to a more cycle and pedestrian cities, the positive energy, the cool Milano, and you see again in 2 different plans we have having similar pillars because it's a base for us, and the cool Milano is one of that. Inclusive Milan as an informed citizen. So all these kind of elements we have developed over the last is bringing to us for the future of the city that you see in this picture. Because all these kind of elements could help us to bring back green in the cities. We have launched a program named Forestami, is to plant 3 million trees over the next 10 years in the metropolitan area of the cities. And this 3 million trees is not just because we love trees, but this could help us to reduce the temperature, to improve the built environment, but even more to increase the canopy in the city. And which is the impact to have more trees on the city? It's only environmental? No, because if I'm capable to walk even in June and July in front of the shop because I have a great shadow, we can also increase the capacity of our community to sell more products to the people because they are enjoying to walk in the street and they don't have to move to other cities. So all these kind of elements has created for us the climate action plan, the master plan, and the solution was already the solution we have identified previously of the COVID, and we are just now moving forward and speed up the process because there is no time anymore for us to thinking if it is right or not. We believe that become a more inclusive, equal, and sustainable city is the solution for Milan in the near future. Thank you very much for your time, and sorry again to be late before there was a misunderstanding, and thanks Victor to invite me over for this presentation and for this great event.
Thanks, Piero, and it's always a pleasure to hear your presentation. I have one small question because I know your schedule also tight because with all this situation with COVID, I imagine you have a lot of work. But actually, you were not possible to be in the hour scheduled hour because you have a meeting with the rest of the elected people from the Milan. The simple question is what some people are maybe asking is that with the COVID, there's an acceleration towards the including resiliency in the strategy of a city, of all the cities around the world. We see that a lot of cities are being called to be responsible also to improve or create some conditions for safety, not only for the pandemic, but actually for climate events or other kind of events. So this becomes more a responsibility for the cities rather than just a central government strategy for everyone. What is your perspective, and what is your advice for some cities that, of course, we are talking medium, big cities around the world, they probably have to consider this office for resilience also including in the smart city strategy, right?
So over the last 12 years, if you look back, we got different crises. We have the economical crisis, there comes the social crisis, then we have the migrants, and we had now we have the pandemic. So the complexity is not anymore that we can escape, that we cannot avoid. And it doesn't matter if you are living in a big city or a medium or a small cities, because all the shock will come and will affect all of us. So my suggestion to all of our colleagues around the medium and small cities is to not be afraid to don't have the capacity of it, because we all have this capacity within us. The idea is that we need to start overcome silos and rethinking our way of working. What is impressive here in the city, what have been my experience here in Milan, is how now all different colleagues have understand that the work has been strictly connected to the others. And this capacity is based on one thing: to be open minded. Be forgot what was before, what we were before, and start to thinking ourselves, open your mind, and thinking what could be take more care of our community, how we can be really supportive to our community, and how we should do it. First of all, is to start mixing up the different departments together. That is the first element of resilience, because normally we have the mobility department focused on mobility, then we have the other things, the social department working on the social department. So all those things has to become pretty clear, and this is the first element. The second element is to be flexible in the solution we identify. When it was April and May, because we are smart travel, we were always thinking, oh, when the tourists will come back, and we basically start thinking maybe we should change the target for a while. We should not focus on Chinese, US, or South American people coming to Milan. We should start to reframe which kind of tourists we should have it in Milan, how we become attractive for the Italian. So we started to improve the quality of our cultural offering to make the Milanese aware first of what they can have it in their cities. So that is the flexibility we need to identify. The flexibility we need to have it to always be capable to adapt to a new situation, not to be shocked. And especially us as a Mediterranean, we are quite cool and good in working in a context of a chaos. We are less good in the normal time, but when it comes to chaos, it seems that the Mediterranean comes to one of the best area to live, because we have this our creativity, our vision of the future. So don't be afraid to introduce the resilience and to work on the complexity, because we are all capable to identify the new vision if we are capable to listen, if we put happiness and care at the core of our development. Because the happy city and the care city has to be the future. I know that it's quite strange to listen in a time when all of us are suffering, but if we have pretty clear the vision that we want things and the care the community and be happy with the community, I think we can get the right solution and to recover even faster than we expected.
Piero, my friend, let's keep the promise up. Next year, probably, finally, our good wine. It will be a pleasure to meet you again in Milan, in Portugal, around the world. Let's see how things going. We are resilient. We can make it. So let's be positive and optimistic. And my wishes from here to you, and I believe most of us, is that keep safe and keep up with the good work you're doing. And see you next time. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much.